Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to yet another video. Today I have a very exciting video and something I've wanted to do to my BMW since I bought my car, and that is retrofit an NBT EVO into my BMW F10. Now you guys are probably saying, hey Evan, you have an awesome radio, you have a 12.3 radio that already has Apple CarPlay, why do you want an NBT EVO? Well, a few reasons. I want the OEM integration of the car. Right now, and I use my heads-up display, it doesn't tell me what song's playing, it doesn't tell me if someone's calling over my cluster or heads-up display, and just little things like that. I want that OEM integration, so I will be adding a NBT EVO into my car. My car did come with the NBT unit because I have a 2016 car. I have to give a massive shout out to my friend Nick Gorkas. He was the one that actually helped me get all set up with the NBT EVO. This is a first time project for me, so he has done it before, gave me some helpful hints in really making sure that this should be a plug and play solution. He actually even sent out his bench for me to be able to flash my NBT EVO and change the VIN and all that good stuff on a bench, so I didn't have to do it in the car, which making this a very seamless project to do. I'll show you everything that I have. I will be doing a full ATM retrofit. Now, if you don't know what that is, basically I'll be adding BMW connected services. Right now in the United States, if your car has the 3G connected services, BMW just killed it, so it'll no longer work. So mine stopped working. So hopefully when I put this ATM in, it will be back. Well, I know it will be back because I've already tested it and stuff like that, but basically I will have my connected drive services back online using 4G LTE. So I will be retrofitting a NBT head unit using the factory 10.25 inch display, and then I'll be putting in an ATM in my trunk in place of my TCB. So I'll show you guys all the parts we have, but first I want to show you my current setup and then we'll get going. So this is what I currently have. As you can see, it is the NBT interface and it has a large display. I may be retaining this display or I may be upgrading to the G series display. I'm not sure yet, but we'll figure that out. For now, we're putting the 10-inch screen in and then we'll come back to this later. Basically, if I press and hold the menu button down here, bumps us into this user interface, kind of like the ID.6, and then I have my Apple CarPlay right there. But we will just be foregoing this for now and just putting in an EVO, seeing how I like it, and then maybe putting this back in or a G series display. Another thing is we are keeping the factory NBT controller. We don't need to change that. If you want to see an actual retrofit of a CIC to a NBT EVO video, Nick has an awesome video, which I'll have linked in the cards above and down in the description, of doing a full retrofit from CIC to NBT EVO. So I definitely highly recommend checking that out. Anything that I missed in here will most likely be in his video. His video will be super in depth. Mine is more of an install video. So I'll show you guys my kit right now. And one more thing I should mention is I do have another NBT EVO that I just got. So if you guys are looking to pick one up, I am willing to sell it. I can make you a kit if you want, or I can just sell you the unit, whatever you want, but I'll show you the kit that I kind of put together in making this a plug and play solution for me. So taking a look, here's all the parts that are needed for this retrofit. Again, you can forego the ATM if you don't want connected services. You'll need some sort of emulator to get GPS, but you do not need that. So, but I will be installing that. So we have the ATM, we have the NBT EVO head unit, we have my old display that I need to put back in. We have this is a voltage regulator that is going to be your new display cable. Basically, the NBT screens use less voltage than the NBT EVO screen, so I had to downstep the voltage. I believe it was 8 volts. I'll confirm that in the description when I link one of these, or you can make it yourself. We have the wiring harness. This is the ATM wiring harness, which was really cool that this is basically making this plug and play minus coding. So we have a GPS wire. We have this wire goes into your head unit, and I'll show you guys where that goes into. So this goes into the head unit and O-bar, and then this goes to your TCB, which is your old essentially ATM, and this goes into this new ATM right here. And then we have a Wi-Fi antenna right here. You're going to need Wi-Fi if you want to use Apple CarPlay. Apple CarPlay does use wireless CarPlay in BMW, so here is your part number right here, and I'll have all this linked down below. And then lastly, we have this harness. Now this harness is serving as your an area to plug into your ATM harness right here. So this was just a wire that I cut and made it work. And 2, we have the activator. Now the activator is what is wiping your VIN. So basically your CAS module, your FEM module is always going to be reporting your VIN to all your modules. However, this has a different VIN. This has to have a different VIN. It has to have the same VIN as your ATM if you want connected iDrive services. If you don't, you can code this to your car and forego the activator. But in this case, I want the connected iDrive services, so I need this harness. And again, I will have all this linked down below. The only things I won't link, unless I find a good deal on one that I can link for you, is an NBT EVO and an ATM. You just kind of have to search junkyards, but I can have a voltage regulator linked down below, this harness linked down below, this harness, an activator, Wi-Fi antenna. I can have all that linked for you guys if you're willing to do this retrofit. So the first thing we are going to do is just unplug my old TCB. When I plug in the EVO, I just don't want anything to happen to the old TCB while I am plugging in this EVO to test it. Again, it was tested on the bench, fully working, so hopefully we plug it all in and it should be plug and play minus a couple other coding things that we may need to do. So I'm going to remove the TCB first off camera. I'll show you guys where it is in the F10. I think on the F30 it's easier to get to, but I'll show you guys where that is, and then we'll throw in the EVO and test it out and then start wiring up the harness. All right, so something I need to do, and you guys probably don't if you're doing this retrofit, is I need to remove my old display. It just pops up like that, and then I can undo all of these wires real quick. You guys, again, won't have to do this because you'll have the factory display, which won't be needed. Okay, so now we can work on getting this huge trim piece out. The the NBT actually sits under here, so we're just gonna work around prying this thing off. I already did the passenger side outside the car just because I don't want to get back up. And then we have 4 T20 bolts. We have 1, 2, and then there's 3, 4 up here. You won't actually, your screen will be here, so I have this plate in here instead, but we're gonna undo all of them. Be careful, because I've actually dropped this one before, and it was a nightmare to get out, so. And now, your screen would normally just pull up, but in this case I have this bracket, and this bracket should just wiggle down, pull these wires through, and just like that, my bracket is out, and that would normally be your screen, so we'll store that somewhere safe. And then I have a lot of other wires that I'm gonna have to take care of, but the next thing that can come out, or should come out, is your HVAC control. So just pull. I believe there's a bottom clip too. Yep. And then there's 2 connectors right here, some of the standard BMW connectors. All right, so now we can just pull this thing forward. Nothing else should be holding it in, and it's coming right out. Now there's really not much room for this thing to move, which kind of stinks, but we'll make it work. There's this connector up here that you can start popping stuff out to give yourself a little more slack. It's like this little retaining clip. It's still not gonna get you much. So I think we'll take it like this and just start undoing stuff. I think the easiest one to do first is the quad lock, and I think you do get a little more slack. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I'm gonna undo the quad lock first. So if right here, just press in and then pull out, and now your quad lock. Again, mine already has some sort of like piggyback thing on it just because. So now I'm gonna take a picture of this, and then we will resume with taking things out. So this first one right here is your display cable. Let's make sure this isn't hitting anything. Okay. So just push in the tab and pry in between. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, I took back everything that I didn't need, all related to the aftermarket radio, and now we have the new harness that will be going in. So we will have to take our fiber cable that's coming off of right here, and we're going to have to move it into the new harness. So I don't know why they don't extend these. I'm really confused. Very gently. and you're going to pull out your fiber cable right here. And now you're going to take it into your new quad lock connector. And again, you're going to use the outside one. And you're going to plug it in. But I think before we do that, we're actually going to plug this guy in just to make it easier. So this is your extension piece right here. No quad lock on this side, if you notice, because it's going right to the radio now. So make sure that's in the open position. All the pins line up. Slide it in, and it locks in just like that, very easily. Now, that's gonna have to chill somewhere back there. We may need to rearrange that just because it always is a mess. But we're going to take the fiber cable now and plug it into the new quad lock. All right, so now we are going to put in all of the connectors. All the connectors will go back besides this blue one right here. That's actually gonna go back to your ATM, so you'll be running an additional wiring harness for that. But this one is going in same way it came out. Then pushing that connector. And then we need FM2, which is click, and those slide up and around. And then the other ones that we have, again, we don't have to worry about that one. We also don't need to worry about your display one. This is the display one. You'll be reusing that with something else. So we need to do this one right here, which is for Bluetooth. Go like that, maybe it goes like that, okay. So that's Bluetooth. We have to put in the WAN. Okay, so it looks like we don't use this green one either. I need to figure out why we don't use that green one. And then we just have the quad lock that goes in our display. So I'm gonna put in that, and then I'll show you guys off camera. I'm gonna do that off camera just because it's getting a little tight in there, and then I'll come back and show you. All right, so couple things. You won't be using this one. This is your display one unless you're putting in a G series display. You won't be using this green one, and you won't be using this blue one right here. This blue one will actually go to our ATM. The only thing left I have to connect is our quad lock, and then we're gonna put it all back for testing. The ATM retrofit will continue on another day. I'm just running out of time today, so today we'll just be installing the EVO, and then we'll go back and do the ATM another day. I also need to hook up my Wi-Fi antenna for Apple CarPlay, which we'll do in a minute, and plug in this quad lock. One of the last things you need to do before putting your EVO back in fully, everything just needs to be snaked back. You have to put on these little brackets from your old radio. They just snap right in. And technically the EVO is like a 1.5 DIN, where your NBT is a double DIN. So it does fit, but there'll be a little space under it. So keep in mind. All right, everyone, so the NBT EVO has been installed. Basically, I did have to put everything back together just because I couldn't do it all in one day, but the NBT EVO is installed. You saw me put in all the wires into the back of it. We're going to have to pull this all out for today because we are going to be doing the ATM. The ATM has to plug into the GPS port that comes off the stock harness, and we need to plug into KCAN 2 for the ATM. So this is fully functioning. I did have to do a couple more coding adjustments. I was having some issues with my surround view. So if we go here, this was basically erroring out, and it was because of the quad lock adapter that I had. It had some sort of like bridge in it, so that's cool. GPS says, I don't even know where that is. I don't even think that's Massachusetts, but it says I'm somewhere that I'm not, and again, that's an issue, so we gotta fix that. CarPlay, fully working. We have full screen Apple CarPlay. That was something else that I had to get going. It wasn't full screen. I basically had to rerun the feature installer, which is injecting my FSC code again, and I can help you guys with that if this is something you are doing. This video, again, is more for the installation process. This is a very technical thing to do, and I would be making probably like a 5 or 6 hour video showing the whole process. This is more of just the installation video. So right now we are going to rip apart the back of the car, plug in the new ATM, and then run it all the way to the front. So I'm gonna do this last just because, yeah, I think that's the better way to do it. There's less wires. If we had to snake a big connector up this way, it'd be harder, but there's only little connectors going this way from the rear to the front, so it should be easier to snake things up. We are going to run it along the driver's side, just because the ATM in the trunk sits on the driver's side, and we wouldn't want to be going more than we need, just because the wiring harness was specifically made so it probably doesn't have too much extra slack, and that is a good thing, so it does fit the car. So very cool. Basically, this is the TCB that I removed from right up there. Here is the connectors that go into it, that will be going back into it. And then we have the new ATM. And as you can see, they are literally the exact same. So we're gonna bolt it up now and then start wiring it in. We have this right here, which is the ATM retrofit harness, we have this that goes up to the GPS port and into the ATM. This goes into our TCB connection, and these three go into our ATM, and these two go up to the EVO. Very simple. So I'm wiring up the ATM harness to the TCB, and the only kind of jank part about this is you have to plug these two in together and then use some electrical tape to secure it. So this piece was on the TCB and it had this nice locking connector. This is just pins. I'm sure there's a better way around it that I'm going to think of, but right now this is all I have to work with because I want to get it working. Now, what you care is this only goes in one way, and you want all of these pins on this to match up with these pins. It doesn't matter if there's extra pins coming from the TCB, which is the white connector. Just make sure every single pin on the black connector has a spot, and that's how you'll know you have it correct. You can look at the pinout. I can try to put a picture of it on the screen, but if you do this way, you'll realize that it can only go one way. It won't work. Pins from this will not be matched up with pins from this, just going to blank spaces. So that's how you know that you have that correct. So I'm going to electrical tape it and then secure it with some zip ties, and then we have the rest of the harness that we're gonna snake through here. There's a nice little area, and then we're gonna fold down the seats and figure out where else we can go. But we do have to also put this in. This is the new ATM in the bracket, and it fits perfectly. So we have cars connector right here, GPS, and then right here, you can see that we have the other three connectors coming from the harness. This connector right here will not be being used. It's actually not used on the EVO as well. I forget what it's for, but it's something for the TCB that you no longer need. All right, so before I mount up the ATM, here's all the wires connected. This was a factory wire coming from the car. This is the included GPS wire that comes with the harness. Then here we have the O-bar connector from the harness, another connector from the harness, and one more from the harness. So making this really plug and play. And then this is the TCB connector going into the ATM harness, and then we run all this to the EVO. That's really why I got this. It is super simple. There's no futzing around really. This is the hardest part, is doing this piece. And again, it's really not that hard. So we're going to start snaking things up to the EVO. I'm not gonna show you that process because it's unique in every car, and you should be able to figure out how to run wires up to the front of your car. So I'm gonna run the wires up to the front of the car. Maybe I'll show you some spots that I got stuck on, and then we'll plug it into the EVO and test it out. All right, so here is the finished product of the back. We have this all zip tied together. Like I said, we're not using this piece. And then we have the existing car wire running down here, and we have the new GPS wire, and then we have the ATM harness, which is running up into the ATM, and then the old TCB connector right here that's going into the ATM harness, and these just connect back to it. So it's really it for the back. I'm gonna button it all up together in. All right, so we are switching to the iPhone for a minute just to show you guys how I'm going to wire in the ATM harness. So I have the ATM harness right here. From when you order this, I'll have it linked down below. This is just 2 wires. I actually extended it and put on a nice connector that will plug right into this quad lock harness right here. Basically, you don't need this quad lock harness if you want to wire it all into the car, but I wanted to make something that was plug and play so I could always remove this without hurting any of the factory wiring. That's why, like I said, I have the emulator right here, which is running off of this harness. So I bought this harness. I will have it linked down below. So we have this wire right here, which I added on, which is basically K-can. It's twisted together, and then that's going into the K-can that is coming off of this. And then this right here is an O-bar connector, and that is going to plug right into the head unit like such. So that's plugged into the head unit. The other thing that you can do is you can wire Ethernet up if you wanted to. I chose not to. And then the last thing is we have GPS. GPS is going into this blue connector right here, and then there's one more like tan or green connector. I forget where it is, but that green connector from your NBT is no longer being used. That's actually what ran back to the TCB. So we are going to be using this right here for your GPS. And yeah, that's basically it for the ATM harness. It's really not that bad. I'll show you guys how I ran it. I ended up running it in a super clean way, in my opinion. So I was able to run it basically next to the car's factory harness, route it all the way around from under here, all the way up, around, and it comes out here, and then this goes all the way back to the trunk. So let me wire this in completely, and then let's see if it works. Okay, all right, so this is after everything's been installed with the Evo. Now, absolutely everything works. There's no errors. My steering wheel controls work. They turn the volume up and down, which is awesome. Siri works, so I press the Siri button. All the menu buttons work. If I go to my vehicle and go under notifications, 0 notifications. There are no errors. The heads-up displays works. The internal microphone works. Everything works. Connected iDrive. I've tested it all, and honestly, I don't know what I was doing before I had the Evo. After having the Evo, it is absolutely a must-have item to add to your BMW. Yes, it's expensive. Yes, it isn't the easiest thing to do, but it is absolutely worth it. I could not be more happier with the Evo, and I cannot wait to get the new touchscreen up here. Right now, this is not touchscreen, but the G30 screen that I ordered will be touchscreen, so that will be an awesome addition to the NBT EVO Retrofit. Like I said, I do have another one for sale, so if you guys are looking for one, but if you guys have any questions on this, let me know as well. This is, again, there's so much to go over with what the Evo offers. Maybe I'll do another overview video if you guys want to see what you get with an Evo, but just know that you get full screen OEM native Apple CarPlay that works. My volume controls work. My heads-up display still works for the song that's playing. The only thing that doesn't work, and this is just a limitation to CarPlay, isn't something you would get if you had an Evo in a stock vehicle, is Google Maps through CarPlay or Apple Maps through CarPlay does not show you the direction to turn. That's just something that's not there. You can use the native Evo maps, which are really good, and I will need to update mine. I think mine are in 2018. I do need to upgrade them to 2021, but I will do that, and that's really the only limitation of the Evo, and it's not a limitation of retrofitting it, it's just an overall limitation. All right, everyone, that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed me retrofitting an NBT EVO into my BMW F10. This is a 2016 BMW 535 with the NBT, so it wasn't too bad. If you're looking to do a full deep dive of how to go from CIC to NBT EVO, check out Nick's channel linked down below. Nick is a good friend of mine. He did this retrofit in his F30 that had a CIC upgraded all the way to the NBT, and everything is fully working. He also helped me along the way getting this NBT EVO installed. Last thing I want to mention is I do have another NBT EVO for sale, so if you're looking to buy one, it will need an ATM paired. Depending on what you want to do, I may be able to help you along getting this retrofit done. So let me know in the comments down below, and then I'll email you or something like that, and I'll ship it off to you. But thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to check out all of my links down below. Don't forget to check out Nick's channel down below. Thank you so much for your continued support. Give this video a huge thumbs up, consider subscribing, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.